The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So said a famous person once. I don't recall who. Maybe it was a Klingon proverb. Who knows? Let's talk about Waymo and Uber. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and what's interesting about reporting on stories like this is to kind of see how far things have come along. I remember the Uber and Waymo lawsuit, where basically Waymo accused Uber of stealing their proprietary software for their self-driving cars. Now, the trial actually began, I think there was even a day or two of testimony before ultimately it was settled, and Uber got off really easily. And it was like always a strange settlement. Like, so apparently Google had all this evidence, even from, armchair, onward looker, but of course I'm biased. It looked like Uber was screwed. It didn't look like they had much of a leg to stand on, but maybe they did, and that's why it settled for a low amount of money. Or maybe it's because the companies got together, basically decided to let bygones be bygones, because they knew that at some point they would be teaming up with one another. Because keep in mind, part of the settlement is that Waymo got to own a little bit of piece of Uber, and now they're finally putting that ownership to good use. This comes to us from CNN Business. Uber and Alphabet's Waymo, which were once embroiled in a lawsuit over self-driving technology, are now working together on fully autonomous trucks. The companies announced Tuesday a long-term strategic partnership to deploy Waymo's self-driving trucks on UberFREIGHT, a logistics platform that matches trucks with business shipping goods. Carriers purchasing trucks with Waymo technology will have the option to use UberFREIGHT to find customers. Waymo and manufacturing partners like Daimler Trucks are not yet offering Waymo trucks for sale, so the Uber partnership is intended to begin with Waymo's test fleet in the next 12 months. Waymo says the trucks will be available for sale, quote, in the coming years, according to Waymo spokesperson Julian McGoldrick. The company hasn't revealed a specific timeline. So basically what this is them testing out the trucks, and they're doing it through Uber. They're not selling the trucks yet. They're not leasing the trucks yet. They said it will be years away, although, unlike Uber, thankfully they didn't give a time frame, because it looks really silly when you give a time frame of when big life-changing technology is going to come around. You're like, oh, by the way, it's just a couple years away, and oh, wait, no, it's not here. It's not here. So, anyway. Continuing, the companies announced the surprising partnership 5 years after Waymo filed a suit against Uber. Jeez, has it been 5 years? I could swear a day or two ago I'd been doing this for 4 years. It's been 5? Gosh. Alleging a plot to steal trade secrets and intellectual property, Waymo alleged at the time that its former employee Anthony Lewandowski downloaded thousands of confidential files to his personal hard drive before resigning. He then launched a self-driving truck startup, Otto, which Uber purchased. Lewandowski was later fired, and the company settled the suit in 2018. It almost has been 5 years. Waymo received equity in Uber that worked out to about $245 million at the time, far less than the $1.8 billion it originally sought. Lewandowski was sentenced to 18 months in prison, but was pardoned by President Trump in 2021. The lawsuit was a significant blow to Uber's self-driving efforts, which it later sold to the autonomous transportation company Aurora in 2020. Liran, Lewandowski's co-founder of Otto, has remained with Uber since the saga and leads UberFREIGHT. Quote, "We are proud to work alongside the amazing team at Waymo," Ron said in a statement. Both companies appear to be turning over a new leaf. Quote, "We have great respect for one another and look forward to working together for years to come to transform the movement of goods," McGoldrick said. The companies say the partnership will provide a streamlined experience for onboarding trucks, booking loads, transferring trailers, and making payments. Uber and Waymo also plan to explore how to best transfer loads between self-driving trucks and human-driven trucks. Both companies say they expect autonomous trucks to handle long-haul driving and humans to handle shorter trips. Of course, if the haul can be done by a robot, why would you have a human do it on a shorter trip, right? I mean, they're saying something like that because here's what this is really about. This is basically, we're all in the midst of this inflation, and companies are looking to cut costs. And one of the ways they're thinking of cutting costs, because this is, of course, always what they think of, well, if we didn't have to pay these drivers and we didn't have to give them benefits and things like that, we could save a lot of money. And so that's what they're hoping. They're hoping to eventually replace truckers. Granted, that's a lot of middle America employees are getting rid of, and they're not going to have paychecks to shop anywhere. But what do these companies care, right? I mean, Alphabet doesn't have a store. Uber doesn't have a store. Uber's whole thing was like, yeah, let's just we'll get the drivers to build our business, and then we're going to constantly hang the threat of job loss over their heads so they do whatever we want them to do. I have a very hard time seeing how Waymo's going to get these trucks approved to drive cross-country when they can't even get a lot of these things approved to drive in the middle of, well, the city. I mean, driving a truck is a lot different from driving a car. I mean, I know there's scientists, I know there's engineers, I know there's people who are definitely smarter than me. I will admit that. But how do you program a truck to drive this with this big load behind and not have the load hit anyone? I mean, trucks in cities normally have to take wider turns, have to go farther before they... It's going to be interesting to see how that works out, because the sensors can't rely on the paint markings on the ground to successfully navigate in some of these towns and cities with freight crates behind them. Personally, what I think sounds like a much smarter thing, and this is kind of a side tangent, is Walmart and Nikola. Now, Nikola, to my knowledge, is not developing self-driving trucks. They are developing electric freight trucks. And that might be the big thing, because right now the big concern with trucking companies is the gas. And the gas is something that needs to be addressed first and foremost. Sure, you can work on autonomous vehicles, but they're A, years away, and B, it doesn't fix the logistical or price problems really of the gas. I read somewhere that some companies, they're spending $3,000 a day to gas up their one truck, and they have several trucks and got to do that every day. And they're like, I don't know how we're going to stay in business. And so I think Walmart sees that, and instead of looking at the employees to fire, they're like, well, let's get the gas under control. Let's develop the infrastructure so that electric freight vehicles can become the future. And I think this has a much better chance of becoming a reality. Now, I should mention I have stock in Nikola. I had for a long time. I've held the stock because I do believe it. That's not a recommendation that you buy stock necessarily. I just want to point that out because, I'm biased all around. I don't like Uber. I don't really like Walmart either, but it sounds more practical. I just think it's interesting that Waymo's trying to basically get on everyone. The way they're trying to do this is it's like, oh, look, here's the gas. You can get rid of your employees, pay us money. We will test drive these things, but who knows when they'll actually be around. It's just funny to think that now, years after the lawsuit, Waymo basically is calling in their favor and like, okay, you did us bad, we did you bad. Let's come together. Let's invest together and let's try to make this happen. Do I think this is going to actually happen? Of course not. We haven't even gotten the autonomous car figured out. You think we're going to have an autonomous freight truck figured out? And also the whole UberFREIGHT thing has never been profitable. And it's not, not that anything Uber's done has been profitable, but freight on demand doesn't work really. These trucking companies rely on solid contracts, guaranteed amount of work, and how many times their drivers are going to be driving so that they know what to charge to stay in business. Freight on demand is a logistical nightmare, which is why UberFREIGHT continues to be basically the black sheep of the whole Uber ecosystem. But with that said, what do you all think about this deal? Do you think there might be some merit to it? Maybe I am missing something. I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.